Judy Chicago is going to be one of the best known of the feminist artists, and she will focus on the role of women in history. She does this, or her most famous work that does this, is The Dinner Party. Now, The Dinner Party is a monument to women's history and accomplishment. It is ultimately a massive triangular table, measuring 48 feet on each side, with 39 place settings dedicated to prominent women throughout history, and an additional 999 names are inscribed on the porcelain brick base that you see, basically the floor that's laid out. Now, when we look at this piece, one of the first things that should stand out is this is not your typical art piece. And in fact, it's what's known as conceptual art. This is where we start crossing lines back and forth: activist art, feminist art, conceptual art. But here, it's not a piece that you would ever buy or sell. It's all about the conversation that it starts. So let's start with its basic form. Now, interestingly, she uses the triangle as the base of her table, a symbol that we have seen before, a symbol which has become almost universally feminine going back to prehistoric times. It becomes the symbol of the pubic triangle, sort of this visual shorthand for female genitalia. Each of the place settings has an exquisitely embroidered table runner that includes the name of the woman, utensils, a goblet, and a plate, in this case, Artemisia Gentileschi. The dinner party originally was intended to be exhibited in a large, darkened, sanctuary-like room, which it is today, with each place setting individually lit, making it look as though it was composed of 39 separate altars. And it actually works if you see it in person. The photographs, of course, light doesn't quite play as well in photographs as it does in person, but you get the general idea. The 999 names written in gold gleam softly, suggesting a hallowed or liminal space. It's really a testament to the power of feminist vision and artistic collaboration. Now let's talk about the names, for example. Why? Why do you want the names? Well, remember when this is being done. This is the late 1970s. And so the idea is that you look at those names and you go, who is this person? Maybe it sets off a conversation with the person you're there with. I don't know a lot of these people. Maybe it encourages you to go and look some of them up. Because again, the idea is to focus on the female role in history. So you see a name like Lucretia and you go, oh, she's famous for poisoning people. But in reality, she probably didn't poison anyone. She's tied to a pope who happens to be, it's a mess. But you get the idea. You're going to start looking into the ideas that are presented before you. Now, the dinner party is also a testament to Chicago's ability to create a work of art that spoke to people who had not previously been part of the art world. So what she's doing is she's actually working with a number of different artists who are creating the needlework for the place settings, artists who are going to create the ceramics and other pieces. In order to understand the dinner party, we must also keep in mind that the sculptural painted plates were intended to be metaphors rather than realistic interpretations. So as we look at it, there's always different levels. For example, when we look at these very basic forms, the plates, they start off as painted. Here we see Primordial Goddess, the earliest piece, because the 39 place settings actually run in roughly chronological order. And the plate is painted. And what she's done is she's taken needlework, something that is typically female art, and ceramic painting, which is also typically female art, to create the piece. And these representations get at female identity. In this case, she's using imagery that is reminiscent of female genitalia and therefore looking at the common element of these women in history. As we move on, here, for example, we see Emily Dickinson. the plate becomes more and more suggestive, but its form also recalls the shape of a butterfly or the reproductive organs that are the flower. After all, a flower is nothing more than botanical sexual reproduction in action. Her decision to use vaginal imagery was proven to be powerful, or has proven to be powerful. Now, the dinner party overall has survived rejection, critical dismissal, and political grandstanding, is now seen as a key work of contemporary art. Here we see Georgia O'Keeffe, the last place setting. And they are remarkable pieces because they're going to draw you in. They give you some element of who this person was as well as their identity. And when you look at the piece overall, she's calling our attention to important women in history. And she's far from the first. Of course, there are other female artists who have done the same thing, but she does so in this very powerful way. She leaves us with enough information that we're constantly questioning. For example, you might look at these different figures, these different place settings. You read the name and you go, wow, I'm not familiar with that. And you start to question all of the symbolism and all of the ideas that go into it. And that's the key to it. It's setting off that conversation, or individually, that train of thought, so that you start to think about historical women. And just by starting the conversation, she has managed to obtain her goal in a small way. She has gotten you to think about the role of women in history in a way that isn't in your face necessarily. It's you drawing it out rather than her pushing it on you. And that's what makes this such a powerful and remarkable piece.